Hey guys, and welcome to the definitive ranking of Zelda, the Wand of Gamelon, and Link, the Faces of Evil.
Twofer.
We put both of them in one for a good reason.
Yeah.
These are the same game.
Pretty much, yeah.
They play the same, they look the same. I mean, they're, yeah.
Functionally.
There are some differences, but
Right.
they're so insignificant that we put them together and we threw them through the machine. And this one... well, let's first off saying, you've played these before, right?
Oh, yeah. Plenty, yeah.
Plenty of times. Okay.
Yeah.
I will say, when you look at the community numbers and the staff numbers, much lower than usual because a lot of people have not had the opportunity to play these games. Also, clearly a lot of trolls answered this poll. There are so many of these categories that the community, there were like 15 votes for 5 out of 5. And then, like, 1 vote for 4, 2 votes for 3, and then all 2s and 1s. Like,
yeah.
So,
well, yeah, I was struggling with that. I was struggling with
well,
the concept.
So a lot of people with 5s and 1s, including this guy right here.
Yeah. So, well, okay. Well, you want to
Let's
go
start
into
with the
world. Well, just in general, it was really hard. This shows kind of the limitation of the concept at all of assigning number values to various things, because like I do love this game or these games, but they're also like terrible. I don't know, it's hard to evaluate, and so I kind of split the difference and I only gave 5s and 1s to kind of represent that, I guess.
Okay.
So with the world, I mean, the game is just from just the world of this game is so bonkers.
Okay.
That I love it. I do kind of adore this game, like all the weird characters and all the silly cutscenes, and it's kind of an iconic game from that perspective, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe for the wrong reasons, I guess, but it's brought me plenty of joy over the years, and a lot of people plenty of joy. So
okay. I did not give it a 1
okay.
for most of the reasons you just described. Some of the characters are kind of funny. I like some of the interactions you have with them. They don't fit, some of them, like who is this person? Like, there's no story behind most of these characters. Why are they there? But
all of the animation involving them and the dialogue is just so crazy.
Yeah.
That it's like, what? It feels like an acid trip or something.
Yeah, especially when it zooms all the way in
on their eyes and they start like crazy stuff's going on. And sometimes it'll be like regular characters, and like the pacing of like which the dialogue and everything happens, and I don't even know. Like, I just yesterday actually I just watched all of the cutscenes. Like, after playing it, I just sat and watched all of the cutscenes, which is like 16 minutes long. But I was cracking up. I was having a ball. So
okay. I would like to say that there's no real overworld in this game. It's just the map, and you pick the levels. But there's something charming about the levels, in the sense that, like, especially in more so in Faces of Evil, where you're looking at the map and you see, and like the actual what you see on the map appears in the actual level as well.
Oh yeah,
like some of the finer details. So, you know, kudos to these Eastern Europeans that designed this game.
There's something like the map and other elements of this game do have they kind of make me nostalgic, even though I didn't play this as a kid, but just for like 90s CD-ROM games, like this reminded me of a lot of weird like off-brand like educational games that I had that would play on your computer as a kid.
That's what a lot of the games on the CDI were, actually. Yeah,
a
good amount of them.
So it kind of had a charm to it in that sense too.
Moving on to the other side, I think this is the first time ever that we've been on Total Extremes where I gave it a 1. Yeah. You gave it a 5.
For kind of the same reasons I just talked about, where like, yeah, I don't know. This game was invaluable to me. Like, I couldn't evaluate this game, because it was like, it's so ridiculous. Like, I was watching those cutscenes, and I think I could sit there and break down the animation like frame by frame and there's something just totally crazy going on. Even if it's just a random scene. There's like in the beginning, there's a random scene of like Impa, and she's doing something, and for some reason her hand is like this like larger than her head, and it's like, what is the perspective and all this stuff? It looks absolutely insane. I don't want to say like, oh, it's so bad it's good, but it's just something. I just was trying to imagine the creation of this game, and I was just like, this is insane.
Okay. When I compare it to any other Zelda game, I can't compare. I will say, even though I gave it a 1, some positives. It's very inconsistent from level to level, but some of the backgrounds actually look kind of cool.
I think they have that same charm I mentioned of like 90s PC like or like CD-ROM game where it's like they look kind of cheap but kind of cool, but the way they're integrated into the gameplay is so awful.
Yeah, and that'll get into gameplay, but I think that kind of spills over into art because they could have used the art more so graphics to like highlight what in the background is background and what's not background.
Oh my god.
And that's a flaw of the game as a whole, and I think that bleeds into both gameplay and the art style, I think. It's horrible. It's really bad, actually. Maybe one of the things that makes this game unplayable. But I gave it a 1.
Right. I can understand that.
The story.
It's... Again, continuing the same thing I mentioned, I just watched all the cutscenes. The story is ridiculous. You go to a random area, and there's some random characters show up out of nowhere, and you're not sure if you're there with them or what. Just some guy shows up and, my cakes are burning, and you're like, who is this?
Oh my! It looks like everyone's been taken to Taikogi Tower.
This is illegal, you know.
My cakes will burn.
He's trapped in Taikogi Tower. That's the chef.
How many enemies are just like, you're gonna die? It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, there's some charm to like Mellotron. Like,
there's so many weird cutscenes where like you kill an enemy and they like gruesomely die, and then their heart's there pumping on the ground. And I specifically remember one where like then there's 2 other enemies who are like,
he's dead. Let's get out of here.
Let's get out of
here. Yeah.
What is this?
You punch the iron knuckle and you steal his heart.
Yeah. I don't know. Again, the story is...
I wasn't sure if that was a reference to like the Tin Man. Because he's like, but he's got a heart. I don't know.
But there's other characters who their heart's left behind.
Yeah.
Or what's the one scene where a character is like, oh, I'm dying, and Zelda just goes,
good. You killed me.
Yeah.
Good.
You can't evaluate this story. I mean, Duke Auntlet was under attack
by the evil forces of Ganon, but it was a ruse. He was the traitor.
Yeah. And then he had to
scrub all the floors in Hyrule. That's his penalty. That's why I gave it a 2, because of Duke Auntlet.
Duke, I love that guy. It is worth pointing out here that these have transcended like this game. Like they've become memes online. Like people know the name of like the shopkeeper and Faces of Evil. Yeah, he's become like a meme of himself. I know
his lines, but I don't know his name.
Oh God, leave a comment if you know.
Lamp oil, rope. You want it, and we got it.
Yeah, that guy. I mean, all the King Harkinians. You had all those like people for the past decade have made like chopped up, stuff with this. Like these are like huge things synonymous to me with like internet culture. Yeah, like more so than any other Zelda game almost. Yeah, actually, because like there's plenty of people who aren't Zelda fans who like know these memes and stuff like that. So
right.
Yeah, don't take my 5s too seriously is all I'm saying.
All right, up next we got pacing and progression.
I knew you were gonna be like fair about this one.
So both games start with 3 levels that you have access to. And the general idea here is there's a Triforce symbol at the beginning and the end of each level. And if you reach the end and, with Zelda or Link and you hit the Triforce, you've cleared the level and it opens up a new level. So that's like how the game works. You can still go back to, in a lot of cases, you have to go back to some of the old levels. But that's how you expand your map. And it's got like a vibe of like you're limited in scope to just the early levels, which tend to be easier. And I like how that world expands a little bit. And I think it's not bad. I think it's okay.
It gives me the feeling of an adventure game from the 90s again, where you're going around and it's like it is like I just collecting these various items that you got to take somewhere else to give to someone else, and I do like that aspect, but I couldn't. This is where I was like, okay, I'll evaluate this how I actually feel about it, and that it's just. I also think about the progression, and it's just so the game is. This is more of a gameplay thing, but the game is so aggressive. Like aggressively difficult to play.
Okay.
That like the first level you play, which is like should be simple, is just like a grind.
Yeah.
So the game, if it was a game that played well, that aspect would be fun. But it's a grind to play, especially by yourself.
Yeah.
But I do also like that aspect about it.
I think so. It's hard for me to talk about the pace and progression. Well, let's talk about the gameplay for a minute.
Yeah.
Because gameplay is not just like how you move the character, but I think the gameplay of this game, it's a scavenger hunt. It really is. Like you meet a character and you want, bring me an Arpagos egg, and then later on you find an Arpagos egg, and you where was the person who wanted? And then it's like, so that's part of the pacing and progression, but it's part of the gameplay, I think, a little bit. And I think that was kind of fun.
Yeah,
I like when you find the item somebody is looking for, and sometimes you forget where you have to bring it, especially if you don't play it in like one sitting. So that is the only reason this gets a 2 and not a 1, because every other thing about the gameplay, and especially the combat, is egregious.
It feels so bad.
It is awful. You can't jump correctly. And first of all, it's worth noting, the Philips CDI controller, the base controller, is like it's like a Wiimote almost. Like it's one-handed, like a ice cream scoop kind of thing.
Yeah, it's definitely meant to be more of a remote controller.
Yeah.
It does give me the feeling of like this was designed more to play those types of games I was talking about.
Right.
You're just clicking on things and.
But you kind of need two hands. So imagine like using a remote control for a TV, but using two hands.
Yeah.
That's what this controller, and it's so awkward. It's almost unusable, I would say.
Yeah. I was trying a little bit and I was trying with kind of just one hand. I was like, if this game was just like dumbed down and made really easy, like that would actually be kind of chill to play like this goofy, stupid game with just one hand. But then I was like, okay, this is so frustrating, and I go two hands, and I was like, I'm just gonna switch controllers.
You have to use like there are like an alternative controller that's more of a like it looks like a Sega Genesis controller, and it's a more of a traditional. It's like a must-have to even play the game, I would say.
Yeah. And so there's all these little things too. It's not just like, oh, it feels kind of bad. It's like on almost every level the controls are bad. It's like with how you have to change items, enter doors.
Yeah.
Like it's
one button uses your sword and one button does everything else. Yeah,
so you have to crouch and hit the button to open your inventory, but if you're doing it by a door, that's also the enter door button. Everyone knows about this, right? It's all these little things. It's like infects every part of the game.
And a lot of the gameplay, especially this is more true in Wanda Gamelon in the forest, the Hanyu Forest, and Washubi Swamp, I think in particular, where like there's invisible like a wall at the top where it's not seen. Where if you jump and hit it, you stop progressing and you just fall down. But there are parts where you have to make precision jumps when you're all the way at the top of the screen, and it's like, why am I just like? And
you can't, again, with the backgrounds, you can't see where you're supposed to stand.
You don't know which tree branches you can stand on. One you can just walk across. Like it's.
I'm here trying to jump over the Goma pit, and it doesn't look big, but like the precision is just not there, and I can't tell. Do I have to get up there? This though is a category that I will say. Depending on the setting, I could give it a 5, and
Oh, if you've got like friends who are like
Yes,
all struggling together.
I think it was me, Corey, and Lulu played it at the marathon this past year, and it was a riot because it was almost like it's like a laughing stock, and we're taking turns. This is a great multiplayer game, actually.
Yeah.
I was upstairs playing it. I was getting between various levels of like the amusement I mentioned, but also like just angry. But with that, playing with other people, it was actually really funny because it's like you're with other people and you're going like, how was this even created? Like, how is this a game with Zelda characters that's official, you know?
Right.
And you're trading off, trying to make these minuscule jumps that are impossible, you know, just to jump over this little area, and you're taking turns trying the stupid jump, and it's so frustrating. But it's really fun, actually. So it's one of those things where that's also why I kind of split the vote too, because it's like there's a world where this is an amazing fun game, and it's also like one of the worst games ever.
Yes. Yeah. I wouldn't say worst game ever. It's actually maybe the best game I've ever played on the CDI, other than
whoa, that's we're being haunted by the CDI itself.
What were we talking about?
We were okay. There's one other thing that's another minor thing with the gameplay I want to mention is you'll be going up screens and enemies just appear and they're hitting you.
Yeah.
And like, or there'll be a thing where you just get stuck and you can't hit an enemy.
And there's no buffer between getting hit. You can get hit 6 times within a second.
It kills you.
Sucks.
Again, it's really funny if you're playing with other people, but
it sucks.
Yeah.
The items and abilities are awful. Gave it a 1.
Yeah.
You gave it a 1. I will say, it is fun using like the magic cloak and the winged helmet, but like, you know, everything uses rubies. Or rubies, not rupees
in this game.
And you know, it's just annoying when you run out of rubies, like when you have to use something. But even more so, it's annoying. Like you have to go stock up on bombs, lamp oil, rope. You you know, and it's like, oh, all right, I'm out of rope. Let me just kill myself.
Yeah,
go to Staccato, get rope, and come back here.
Sometimes grind rubies.
Yeah.
Or the bomb thing kills me. There will be stuff you have to bomb, but it takes like 10 bombs. But there's no indication that would be the case.
No. It's just throw bombs on a rock forever. And
so you're going boom, 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 boom. Like, and sometimes if you don't have enough, it's like, it's really frustrating.
And this is far worse in Faces of Evil, when you have to grind. You have to grind. Some enemies you need fireballs to kill. The only way to get fireballs is to beat fire-based enemies, which only appear in a few levels. But to beat them, you have to use snowballs. But the only way to beat snowballs is to beat the ice-based enemies, which only appear in specific levels. So really, if anybody really wanted to play this game like without getting annoyed, I would suggest starting the game and going to, I think it's Nortinka, which is one of the first levels, Face of Evil. Just go back and forth for about 45 minutes and get like 500 snowballs. Then go to, I think it's Crater Cove or something or whatever, in where the fire enemies are, and go back and forth and kill 250 of those guys, so that you have 250 snowballs and 250 fireballs, and then you can start playing the game.
Yeah.
That's
the real way to do it, right?
I mean, just in my last playthrough, like I got like 80% to the game, and then they have the audacity to throw an enemy at you that's a fire enemy that you have to kill, and I'm like, I don't have a snowball or a fire, whatever it was, and I'm like,
it's off. Yeah.
I think I didn't have any fireballs, which is worse because you have to go get snowballs and then kill it.
They're bad, though. They're really powerful. And this will carry over. Well, let's carry over more into the enemies, but
let's
dungeons. We talked about. I was thinking of the levels, and they're just, again, you don't know where you can stand. You have to make these ridiculous, things. I think that part of the Washubi Swamp that you saw me play yesterday is the best example of you're riding a crocodile, and then it looks like he's going in the water, so you got to like make this jump, but it's too far of a jump. You actually have to climb up on this tree, but you can't really see that you can actually go on the branch below it. Was that what it was? And it's just like, but it's almost like a cryptic puzzle in itself of like, where can I even stand?
Yeah.
I don't know what else there is to say about the levels.
Yeah, they're
awful.
They're not dungeons. I mean, like, because it falls into, you talk about, Gooey's Dungeon Dive here. Like, what are the elements required for something to be a dungeon? Like,
oh, yeah. I mean,
like, sometimes you get items. Sometimes you get items from the bosses. Sometimes there's no bosses. Like are they even let's talk about the bosses, I guess, because that's the next category here.
This is another one where it's like those cutscenes and stuff like that are all really funny. I like those elements of them. They are entertaining, but the fights, for most of them, aren't fights.
Okay.
It's you have an item and you throw it at them. And you hit him with the shroud and it burns or whatever.
No, he says, no, not the shroud. Oh, it's cold.
Is that what he says? Okay. Yeah.
Why is it cold? Is it like?
I don't know.
Well, it's. Oh no, I know. I think I analyzed this before. The woman who gives you the shroud, she says,
Here's a shroud that scares the raps off Gibdo.
it scares the raps off Gibdo.
Okay.
That's what she says, right?
Oh.
So the raps are. Gibdo's a mummy.
Uh-huh.
So I think you throw the shroud, and that means his wrappings come off. And now he's like, no, it's cold.
Okay.
Is that it?
Sure.
Why does the shroud get rid of his... We gave it a 1. The enemies are... some of them are okay. It's cool to see some familiar enemies. But then most of them are these just creatures... Like, there's these little, like, Darth Vader heads or whatever. Some of them are on the ground, so you have to duck and hit them. But then...
Some are too low.
Sometimes, like, if you're up here and they're, like, one notch below, you can't hit them.
Yeah.
And so you always have to, like... You have to, like...
Come up with, like, really weird ways to hit them.
Plan your way, yeah. And it's you try throwing bombs, the bomb goes over it.
Uh-huh. I think it all is shown in the final boss of Ganon, in that it's Ganon, but all you do is chuck a book or a wand at him.
Yeah.
And that's all.
Yeah. He's pathetic, yeah.
I do like his scene though. He's like, you dare bring light into my lair?
You must die. Or then he's, join me, Link. And I'll make you the greatest in Korodai. Or you will die.
And then his death cut scene is the same in both games, right?
Yeah, well, even if you throw the wand of Gamelon at him, he still gets stuck in the Book of Korodai. Which you don't have in that game. Well, yeah.
It's pretty bad, yeah.
All right, let's talk about the side content and the extras.
Well, you can get a sword beam. Is that optional?
It is, yeah. I would say that's like main quest material. The only thing I can even remotely say would be optional would be when you rescue the chef in Taikogi Tower.
Okay.
He tells you to come back to Sakado.
Okay.
And I don't know if you ever went and talked to him there.
Yeah, I did.
And he gives you some bread.
I got the bread.
And
I don't remember what you do with it.
You throw bread on articles and they won't attack you and they'll go for the bread. It's one-time use and that's it.
Oh.
And then you can go talk to them again and get more bread.
Oh, okay.
But it like, what is that? It's, ugh.
I would say this game, if this was a good game, I don't think it really would need too much side content.
Yeah.
But I can't really.
There's no second quest. There's no replay value. There's no, like...
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
We'll give it a 1. And everybody, this is the lowest community score of a collective 1.8, I think. And everybody gave it, yeah.
That's understandable.
Everybody gave it a 1 point. The only reason this is as high as the 1.8 is because them trolls out there, they gave it 5
good
out
them.
of 5.
Good for them.
You know, saying that this game has the best side content, better than Majora's Mask, or at least on par.
It's the characters. That's what does it, you know?
Yeah, right. One thing, always the saving grace, the music.
Mm-hmm.
The music is good in this game. It's all right.
Sort of. I mean, I gave this a 5. I was
like, okay, the music, you couldn't have given it anything else on the scale. Like, you couldn't have like thought of that independently from the rest of the game.
Even the music, as good as it is, and it's cool that there's different like versions of it where you go to different areas or in a house, and it's like, ooh, this is a little different. But I will say, with the music, the loops are horrible on it. Like, to the point where it's like, that to me lowers it to a 1 almost, where it's like, this is so bad. Like, they wrote some cool tunes for the most part, but then they can't even loop them right. It's like the song just stops, and then it's like, okay, sure.
Yeah.
But I had to throw it up there because I was kind of tying it all more into the world and the characters and the voice acting, because this is a sound category as well.
Yeah, that's true.
Which I didn't do. I actually didn't really incorporate in my Age of Calamity score, which had great voice acting.
Okay.
But yeah, I just thought this was another one. Again, this is impossible to actually rate, but that map screen is
From 1 to Gamelon?
it's
Okay.
a jam.
It is, yeah. That was good. We've included that, I think, in musical March Madness in 2019 and 2020. This year we included the Harlequin Bazaar from Faces of Evil.
Okay.
Which is another...
Yeah.
But I will say, like, almost all of the songs are okay. Like, there's not that many, like or awful songs.
No.
They're all pretty good.
I mean, even the ones that are kind of goofy are like, again, they have that charm that I like of like I do really like all of the songs.
And actually they do a good job where when you're in areas that are more dangerous, I think the music fits that vibe as well. Like,
And the fact that they do like different versions for inside a house, it feels almost like what's insane about it is like, oh wow, they like went to some extra work here. But then again, like why is the loop so bad?
Yeah. It's CD. It might be the CD technology a little bit, like,
My goodness. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know if the PlayStation 1 had this problem though, so yeah.
Yeah, they took the time to figure it out, I guess.
So final scores. I give it it's at the bottom of my list.
It makes sense, yeah.
But so according to my pal Gooey here, so this game is marginally worse than Twilight Princess.
Yeah, no, this is all off. This is all wrong for sure.
Okay. Well, let me ask you, do you enjoy this game? Did you enjoy it more than the games that you have ranked below it, which is Age of Calamity, Spirit Tracks, and Four Swords Anniversary?
So that's what's I think why I wanted it to kind of land there anyway, was because it's definitely it's a much poorly made game than any of these things. It's kind of like a piece of trash in that regard. But I have gotten more enjoyment per capita from this game than those games. Not to say that I didn't enjoy those games. Like, I think I mentioned with Age of Calamity, I was kind of ready for it to be done. Spirit Tracks, by the end of playing that game, the first time I ever played it, I completely stopped. The second time, I was like ready for it to be done, and I really didn't even like Four Swords Anniversary Edition.
Okay.
Whereas, playing this the other day, I was kind of frustrated and was like, this game is awful. But there have been a couple various times playing it at the marathon and stuff like that with friends, and it's given me more pleasure than those other games have. Yeah. So it does not compare to Twilight Princess, obviously. It's not a step below it. Okay. I can totally see people taking this score very seriously, even though I'm telling them not to. But yeah, I remember I have a very fond memory actually of the first time I ever played this game. It was
at my house.
It was at your
my
house.
parents' house. Yeah.
Like 10 years ago.
There's video footage, I believe, of this, isn't there?
There is somewhere. I have tried to dig it up. But this speaks to, I think, the legend of this game, because even at that time, it was already a legendary game. And when I was playing it, I was like, I cannot believe I am playing this game. It felt like magical to me. And I was like, wow, this is so bad. But it felt amazing to finally be playing it. I felt like I had uncovered something, you know what I mean? And so, yeah, I don't know. I actually do love these games as bad as they are.
Right.
So like that was like part of me was like, I should have just gone all fives because I deeply treasure it, but I didn't want it to be sitting at the top of my list for other videos, so I kind of settled on this,
It fits, like, one thing about like Faces of Evil and Wand of Gamelon, the concept, like, in any given time, I might rather want to play that over a particular Zelda game. Like, to me, like, the concept of booting up a game like Wind Waker or Breath of the Wild, it's like, that's a huge undertaking kind of thing. Like, I'm going to start a new file in Wind Waker. It's going to be a 10-hour game. I'm gonna, whatever you're going to do. Like, these games are pocket-sized in that sense. They're short. Yeah. You can beat the whole game in an hour after you've played it a few times. So it's like, it's not like work, if that makes sense. They're just short games. They're small. I think affects that.
I would never really want to do it on my own.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But if my friend was like visiting or something, and I knew they liked video games or Zelda, or even if they're familiar with these memes, I'd be like, "You want to see something?"
You could show it to them and play for an hour and show them the bulk of everything they want to experience in that game, and that's it. But you couldn't do that with Twilight Princess, or
right?
An hour in, you'll be collecting monkeys in the Forest Temple.
Which I don't know if that necessarily means it's a better game.
No, it doesn't. I'm saying that, but there is a little bit of a, it does make them more approachable in that sense. Yeah. To want to replay.
Oh, sure.
That being said, to me, these games are still fun, I think.
Okay.
They're still okay. I don't mind playing. They're not good, but I still enjoy them. And I think
there's some history there. There's Zelda, the story behind them, actually, which we didn't really talk about. But there's plenty of great videos out there about the story of Nintendo and Philips. It's all so fascinating.
How they came to be, right.
Yeah.
Though they are, like, I've played a handful of CDI games, and these ones are probably the best of the best, as weird as that sounds. But to me, even the weakest of the main series games and weakest of some of the official spin-offs are still a step above, so it's at the bottom of my list.
That's the point where we talk about the scale of our list. It's hard, like what's a 3? Is that like a 60%? You know what I mean? Because I was thinking about, I gave gameplay on Four Swords Anniversary Edition a 1 because I did not really have much fun, but I also gave this a 1. But to me, this is significantly worse. It's unplayable, but that's the bottom. You know what I mean? So like, there's a whole realm of bad between like unplayable, completely broken, and not fun. And I think my 1 kind of encompasses all of that. So like, it's hard. Like, this I could have given 0s maybe to more accurately reflect my score and have it below. You know what I mean? It's just really hard with this score.
I think I recall getting a message saying, "Can we give negative points?"
Right, because if we ever do Zelda's Adventure, it's like, there's got to be a floor to this.
Oh, there's a floor, because I gave this game a 1.7, and I used to always make the same analogy. I'll make it again. The difference in quality between I get upset when people refer to them as the CDI games. I think generally when people are referring to the CDI games, they're talking about
these two games.
These two,
which is fair to lump them, even though there's those nuances you mentioned.
There's a third game, Zelda's Adventure, which to me is the worst Zelda game that has ever released. Like, I make the comparison that the difference between Ocarina of Time and Wand of Gamelon, as giant as that is, it's the same leap, the same distance between Wand of Gamelon and Zelda's Adventure. They're equally apart from each other. That's the middle point.
That says it all, really.
That being said, our staff also agreed that it was better than Four Swords Anniversary.
With the trolls in
We had a couple trolls that gave it... One troll gave it all 5s. I don't know who that is. I think I have an idea. But
good for you.
Well, that's going to do it for Wand of Gamelon.
Yeah, it was
I
a
hope
fun
you guys
discussion.
enjoyed this video. And though, for those of you watching in the future, look at the date of when this was published. For those of you playing along, next month we are covering Cadence of Hyrule.
Yeah.
Including, I guess, all the DLC. That's all together.
Yeah.
The final product of Cadence of Hyrule for the Nintendo Switch. So the poll is down below. So go have your voice be heard. And we will see you guys in the month of May.